Check.
So,
Happy New Year!
We're professionals!
Nerd Exchange of Western Pennsylvania is proud to present the Nerd Exchange, a show celebrating the region's contributions to art and culture, with the very best in nerdly review and enlightened geek critique. With your host, Tim Sedgwick. That's me. Living what we love and learning something cool and new every day. So let's get this game started, shall we? Because this podcast goes up to 11.
Sit around and figure out if I'm wasting time. Wait for the sign. It's time to shine, shine, shine. Wait for the sign. It's time to shine, shine, shine.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Nerd Exchange, your place for informed nerd commentary and geek critique. I'm actor-comedian, blowhard general know-it-all Tim Sedgwick.
I am Kyle Everett Fubar Sember, father of CthulhuTube and also nerd extraordinaire.
And as always,
I'm Julia, eater of babies.
it's worse than it sounds. And here we are, let's talk about some nerd crap. This is the part where you talk about some nerd crap.
Oh, okay. I thought this was the part where we did something else other than talk about nerd crap. Sorry, my bad.
What were we supposed to do other than talk about nerd crap? Because I have no other demonstrable skills.
I thought we were going to play Chinese checkers this week. I mean, I brought the board.
I keep telling you, it does not podcast well. You can't, like that look you're giving me right now. The people at home can't see it.
We could
They
play
can't
cards
see the
against
seething hatred in your
You
eyes.
can imagine. Like, at some point we need to do, like Halloween masks. Like the cardboard masks off the back of the
Cereal
Star
box?
Wars cereal of you and me, and it'll just be like me giving the look.
That'll be just me looking
That
really
will not
surprised.
that will not score you much candy, but it will be fun. So, how was your Christmas?
So anyway, I got a lot of socks. I never thought, it's like when you're a kid and you get socks, you go, "Ah, man, I will never need these. I need a toy. I will never need these." And all I asked for was socks, and that's pretty much all I got. And it was awesome. Because now, like, I'm wearing these Gander Mountain socks, even in this cold snap we've been having. Toasty. How about you?
Nice. Well, I've said in past weeks I scored the Daryl and Merle 2-figure action set. Scored the Governor, Carl.
Which you took out of the box.
Yes. Which I always take out of the box, because you have to free them from that plastic prison. It's not fair. Got a toy, still in the box? That's just, cruel, man.
Oh, I'm just going to put it in this perspective. I, too, have lots of stuff out of the box. I am not a purist about this. As a collector, I am not, a lot of times, okay, so I can get this vintage Star Wars action figure off the card, well, without the card and everything, for $15, or I can spend $150 for it on the card. I'm going to go for the $15 every time, because I'm the king of the lowball collecting. But I got, when I was 7 years old, the early bird Star Wars thing, okay? Had I kept that in the package, had I not even opened it, or opened it, looked at it, and put it back, you know what those are going for now?
Oh, it's got to be in the 1,000 range.
The last one I saw went for $23,000. On eBay.
Damn.
On eBay.
Well, I'm not surprised.
Right. So I understand the idea of wanting to enjoy your collectibles, because when I was a kid, I enjoyed the hell out of my Star Wars figures. which is why they're worth money now. So now with new things, if I think that someday they might be worth more than twice what I paid for them, because, not everything, let's face it, so many people buy stuff now and keep it in the package that you're not going to get, like, the governor 30 years from now is not going to be worth $2,000.
Well, see, like, I'm a little bit younger than you, and I lived through the whole speculator boom of the 90s, where every other issue was a collectible, polybagged with a, collectible trading card and all that crap. And I was that's one of the things that turned me off from comics in the mid-90s.
Me too. You're not that younger than me. Not
I'm
that
a
much
little
younger.
bit.
How old are you?
I'm 34.
Yeah, me too. Shut up.
I'm sorry, your crow's feet are telling another story.
Hey, I got the whole bird.
But,
I
yeah,
was there for that too, and I understand that.
But, if I buy an action figure, I want it out of the freaking package and, posed with its weapons and stuff up on my TV.
Well, like, I've got most of the things that I have that are still in the package are things that are worth a little bit more than what I've got some Boba Fett's, modern age Boba Fett's, that I think were like $10 originally, and now technically on paper they're worth $20, which means if I sold them I could get 10.
BF&D, really, though.
But,
I mean,
hey,
are you enjoying them? Are you enjoying having them?
yeah.
Okay, well, that's the whole
I
point.
got them on my wall.
Good.
Well, the thing is, because when I met Jeremy Bullock at last year's Pittsburgh Comic Con, we went on Friday because work schedules got all kerfuffled,
Mm-hmm.
and it was so slow. I actually got to talk to Jeremy Bullock for like 5 minutes, and like I could have talked to him more, but I was so I was starstruck, dude. He was being really nice. I didn't know how to deal with it. So I talked to him for like 3-4 minutes. I was like, okay, we're going to leave you alone now. And you could tell he was like, no, I'm bored. It's Friday. Come on. Pull up a chair. Sit down. But those things I'm thinking of next time he's here, going on Friday again, getting him to sign it. Because I think he would have done it for free.
Probably.
Because I already bought something. And the way they did it was like $25 for whatever picture that you chose.
Yeah.
Or if you brought something, it was like $5 or $10 per signature. I could have got 1 or 2 things signed for free just because,
Yeah.
I was the only
He was
one there.
bored.
Because he was bored.
But actually, I've been looking at something online and trying to justify the purchase. Are you familiar with HeroClix?
I am. It's supposedly a game with collectible little plastic figurines.
Which I have quite a few of. Mostly the superhero ones. But they did a whole series called HorrorClix, which I've been looking at, and they've got a few good figures in there. They've got more than a few. They're all awesome. But they did a Freddy vs. Jason one, which I do plan on picking up, and they also did Alien vs. Predator series. But they did a massive Cthulhu. 16 inches. But guess how much that SOB is going for online?
In the box or out of the box?
Either. It's pretty much the same whether you get it in or out.
$60.
$350. Yeah. And the thing was, like, when I first came out and I was like first looking at it and like thinking about buying one, it was $100. And I was thinking, man, $100 is a lot. I'm gonna wait a little while and hopefully this will go down. It's done nothing but go up since it freaking came out.
But the nature of the way things work, if you wait 5 years,
maybe, but maybe not.
maybe for your 40th birthday, you're like, okay, I'll buy it. Oh shit, it's $700.
But I really want to get that one. I really want to get the Dr. Manhattan super huge figure that they have.
For HeroClix?
Yeah, they have a they have a Watchmen series, which I'm also planning on picking up. But yeah,
But Julia finally
We
saw
should,
Watchmen.
we should really try out that game sometime. I think you'd dig it.
It seems really complicated. Like, my tabletop gaming,
Mm-hmm.
the closest, like, when I've seen people play it, like, I played Battletech
Okay.
back in the day, and I really liked it.
Yeah, I did too.
I really liked it.
It was
but
very
most-
simple though.
Yeah, pretty simplistic, pretty, just like, move behind a guy, shoot him. I watched somebody play Warhammer 40K.
Oh, I tried it once, and I could not get into it.
And
But I think it was mostly because the people I was playing with were, like, really dicks. So,
that can happen.
yeah, that can affect your experience.
That can happen. Oh, hey, I wanted to mention real quick. I'm going to be doing a comedy show February 14th. It's been a while. It's been about a year. Been doing this and working and whatnot. But I'm going to be opening for Eugene Merman at the Rex Theater on Valentine's Day. Tickets are only $15, so go to rextheater.com. Get your tickets today because I got all new jokes. New jokes.
A likely story.
No, really. Okay, 95% of new... Okay, I haven't written a new joke in 6 years. Just come out and watch me do comedy.
You can hear him do his catchphrase. It's get her done, right? Or is it... No, I'm mixing it up. Here's your sign? Is that what you say? Or something about gel pudding pops? Now Tim is giving me my
I will
look.
kill you just to watch you die. My
No,
catchphrase,
really.
if I have one, is, I ain't saying nothing. I'm just saying. Which I say to you a lot. Because you're
your
wrong.
catchphrase is, Kyle, I'm going to punch you in the junk.
Anyway, let's talk about
So-
some nerd news now.
Do you want to go first, or do we want to talk about The Rock?
Let's talk about The Rock. Dwayne The Rock Johnson apparently is inking a deal with Warner Brothers to become part of the DC movie universe.
Now, what's your prediction for possible roles?
I would love it.
Know your role.
I would
You're
love
not familiar
it. Can
with
you
W-
smell
Okay, you
what
are
I'm cooking
semi-familiar with WWE.
when I would love it if he was the Martian Manhunter. And here's why. The Martian Manhunter is the most powerful being in the DC universe, at least in the Justice League. I don't know if you knew that. Did you know that?
Yes, I knew that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, a lot of people don't. A lot of people just go,
he's on
who's
par.
the green guy?
He's on par with Superman, as far as I'm aware,
Well, I'm going to...
in power level. But,
he could take Superman's ass. It's plain and simple. And the thing is, it would be such a great confluence because Dwayne Johnson is such a beloved actor, and he's an actual actor now. First few things he did is like, wow, that charismatic wrestler guy.
He was a wrestling actor, you know.
Right, and now he's just a legit actor.
Yeah.
You know, is he Dustin Hoffman? No, but he's legit. But he's well liked. Like, I don't know anybody when you bring him up. Like, they might say, well, that Tooth Fairy movie was stupid.
Oh, yeah,
Or that
it was.
this movie was stupid.
Yeah.
But I've never heard a single human being, and I talked to a lot of people with strong opinions, who said, he's bad, he's awful, he's wrong. And the thing is, Martian Manhunter, for normal people who don't read comics and follow these sort of things, is a pretty obscure character. So having him be the Martian Manhunter might get people more interested in it. Or might make it a little bit easier for them to stomach the character because they'll actually be paying attention. Because if Batman vs. Superman vs. Batman, whatever, which I think is going to become the Justice League movie,
Or at least
Even
it's going
if-
to be a
even at
lead-in.
3 hours long, it's probably going to be 3 hours long. Each of the individual origin stories is going to only be able to get 5 to 10 minutes tops.
Which we've already had for Superman, so...
We've had for Superman, but Wonder Woman's going to be in there.
Yeah.
The guy who plays looks like a transsexual with a beard on Melina. Not Melina.
I'm going to be in it?
No, the guy from Game of Thrones.
Okay. Oh, yeah, the Conan.
Yeah, the guy who played Conan.
Who I think is going to be...
Momoa.
Luthor. Yeah.
Jason Momoa. Am I right?
I think that's his name. But I think
it's close. If I'm
I think-
wrong, I'm sorry. But
I think he's going to be Luthor, personally. We've talked about this before. But,
Aquaman.
Yeah, and you think Aquaman. But
I
The
think
Rock,
Aquaman.
another possibility would be Jon Stewart Green Lantern.
Now, here's the thing. It took Marvel, Hulk, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America the First Avenger, and Iron Man 2 to get people into the vibe of the universe to where they could do an Avengers movie.
Yeah.
You had one Green Lantern movie, which is not technically part of this movie universe. They haven't said one way or the other. If they haven't said one way or the other, I'm going to assume that it's not.
Now, is that the same studio, though?
It's the same studio.
Oh, it is? Okay.
But remember, Ang Lee's Hulk is in no way part of the Marvel universe, is what I'm saying. So, will enough people who might go see this next DC movie, will they know enough about Green Lantern to just have that? Because purists like me, when it comes to Green Lantern, they're like, Hal Jordan is Green Lantern. You know, don't give me this Spectre crap. Don't give me this white ring thing. No, Hal Jordan is Green Lantern, and all the other Green Lanterns just lead back to Hal Jordan being Green Lantern, which has been the history of it.
Guy Gardner's better, but save that argument.
Oh, by the way, did I apologize to you yet for being wrong?
About what?
We had an argument about the Justice League pilot, where David Ogden Stiers was the Martian Manhunter, and I was sure that it was Kyle Rayner, and it's Guy Gardner, and I said, no, the haircut was wrong. Screw you, you're wrong. Well, I rewatched it, unfortunately, and listen. I got another apology later on in the show, but listen, if you know me, I don't apologize much. Like when I was drinking and doing stupid shit, I apologize for that kind of stuff. But when it comes to actual, demonstrable facts that you can look up, I usually am on the ball because I usually read a lot before I say something. I remember the last time I can remember admitting I was wrong, I got into an argument with a guy in a bar who was from Russia. He was a Mongolian guy, but from Turkmenistan or something.
Okay.
And the argument was, he said that Russians invented vodka, and I said that the Polish invented vodka, because I remember my grandpap, when I was a little kid, saying that to me, because we were Polish. And we got into this argument, and this was way before you could just, look stuff up online.
Yeah.
And Pitt University here in Pittsburgh had a helpline, where they basically had people who were getting master's degree in library science. So you could call this number and give them any question, and they would say, hold on, and they'd put the phone down, and they'd go look it up for you. And I called this guy the next day, he's like, let me look that up. He's like, well, according to this encyclopedia, vodka was invented in 1800 whatever in Russia. And I said, shit. And he said, why? I told him the whole thing. I said Poland. He's like, well, hold on a second. And he looked something up, came back, and he said, well, it turns out that about 10 years after it was invented in Russia, Polish distillers figured out a way to make it better. Figured out a way to distill spirits so they could be more than 80 proof. So before the us Polacks, you could only have 80 proof, but we found a way to make it stronger and better.
You may not have invented vodka, but you did invent that submarine with the screen door on it. So
which would have worked if it hadn't been for the rain. And shut your poor mouth.
I apologize to our Polish listeners. It's just a very
It's okay. I'm Polish, so I'm allowed to say these sort of things. Those are the rules, right? No, but the next night I saw this guy in the bar, and I actually stood up on the bar stool, on the bar cushion in the booth, and I said, hey, everybody, I was wrong about a demonstrable fact, because I'm dumb. Because he said this, and I said this, and he was right, but I still think we did it better. So I don't apologize much. But, so, enjoy it now, because you're not going to hear it again.
I'm going to enjoy it.
In 2014. So
I'm
anyway,
going to stand by Guy Gardner ruling.
Getting back to whether or not The Rock would be a good...
Now, did you watch the Justice League animated series that was around in the mid to late 90s?
Some.
And
I have seen some.
That was actually the original show where they introduced the Jon Stewart Green Lantern. And I could see them going with the Jon Stewart Green Lantern over the Hal Jordan or the Guy Gardner.
It just seems like it would confuse people. Listen, it's kind of like how the Mandarin was in Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
Where, who knows, maybe audiences will love him because it'll just be... I heard a rumor that Denzel Washington was going to play Jon Stewart.
Really?
And this was at some
That wouldn't be
reputable
too bad.
places.
That'd actually be pretty good, I think. Him as Jon Stewart.
And it would be the same concept of casting as The Rock.
Yeah.
You know, The Rock, people would be like, oh, that's The Rock. I'm going to listen to what his character's saying. I'm going to get into his storyline.
He
If
really
Denzel Washington were Jon Stewart, I could see it. I think if it was like a no-name person, a lesser actor than him, playing the role,
hmm
I think people might have a problem getting their head around it.
He really has gone past the stigma of being a wrestler actor more than freaking Hulk Hogan ever could.
Well, that's because Hulk Hogan only ever did vanity pieces.
Mm-hmm.
People went, oh, we're going to write this movie for Hulk Hogan.
The Rock has done roles where he's not the star. He's either like a sidekick or a side character, and I think that's why he's had much more of a successful career than Hulk Hogan has as far as acting.
I agree with you.
And, unlike Hulk Hogan,
Hulk Hogan only ever played Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. I mean, that freaking one fighting movie he did that was so huge. What the hell was the name of that? No Holds Barred? That was like his first big one. And then Suburban Commando, Mr. Nanny, all that kind of crap.
Oh, it's awful.
But,
Do you know,
The Rock,
did you
on
know
the
this?
other hand...
Here's a little Hulk Hogan trivia. Hulk Hogan turned down being the spokesman for the George Foreman grill.
Okay.
George Foreman.
Odd.
I'm not proud of this, but I watched an episode of the Hulk Hogan reality show.
I saw quite a few, too.
And there were all of these things that they were talking about endorsing, and his wife was trying to tell him no, and he said, listen, you told me to turn down the George Foreman grill because you thought it was tacky.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's a billionaire because his name's on it. You have no right to tell me at all, ever again, what I should and should not endorse. So, imagine how the world would be different if instead of George Foreman grill, it was the Hulk Hogan grill.
I don't know.
I'm gonna Hoganate it!
Have you ever eaten something out of a George Foreman grill?
Oh, it's
not
fine.
Oh, it is not.
It's
Gotta
not
disagree
awful.
with you.
It's
See,
a
I'm
lovely,
more of
convenient way to make a quick piece of chicken.
Like with the wrestlers who have gone into acting, and there's been a few, and with varying degrees of success. Like The Rock really has done well, and like Get Smart. He was in Get Smart. He was fucking hilarious in Get Smart.
Hulk Hogan was?
No, The Rock.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get into top 10 lists later, so get to know the host better and whatnot or whatever. But
are you a
my
wrestling person?
favorite, I was from like
Okay.
1979 to 1986.
Oh, okay.
I was a bit like I watched WrestleMania 1, and that was a big thing because it cost a lot of money to watch WrestleMania 1.
Oh, hell yeah.
And my dad basically got that for me as one of my birthday presents. It happened a couple months after my birthday, but yeah, the first 3 WrestleManias we watched pay-per-view, which was a big deal back then.
Yeah, I was a big fan from the late 80s.
One of my top bad movies
Mm-hmm.
ever is They Live. with
Oh
Matty Rodgers
my
Bryant.
god, you are getting punched in the dick for that, you son of a bitch.
I love that movie.
So do
I
and you calling it a
love-
bad movie pisses me off.
Listen, what are my criteria? Acting, directing, writing, cinematography, music. Put all those together, it's a bad movie, dude. It just is. It's a beautiful bad movie. It's so bad it's good. Come on, they have a 21-minute wrestling scene in the middle of the movie. It's actually only probably about 12 minutes, but still.
It's still one of the longest.
It's still
It was the record holder for longest fight scene in a movie for a very long time.
for a very long time.
It's probably been usurped since then.
And the whole
still.
thing was, put on the glasses. I'm not putting on the glasses. Body slam on the concrete. Come on, dude. I
I'm
came
sorry,
here to do
but
2 things. Kick
kick
ass
and
and
chew
chew
bubble
bubblegum.
gum.
And I'm
And I'm
all
all
out of
bubble
bubblegum.
gum.
Come on.
One of my favorites of all time.
Mine too. But you have to acknowledge.
And, like-
but it's, again, folks, it's okay to like things that aren't good. That's the beauty of America.
Like I was trying to say like a minute ago, I was a big fan of the wrestling from the late '80s through the late '90s, which was the era of like it was like guys like Hulk Hogan and Macho Man were on the way out, guys like Stone Cold and The Rock were on the way up, and I've watched The Rock's career from the very beginning, and just seeing where he's gone with it, and the good decisions that he's made, and the good decisions he's made,
Right.
especially film-wise. I mean,
He probably had to say no to a lot of stuff.
And, like, other people would probably, like you said earlier, like Hogan only taking vanity pieces. He doesn't just do vanity pieces. He doesn't do shit where
Right.
his
But probably
face
at the
is gonna be
beginning,
on.
they probably gave him a lot of scripts and offered him a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of money, and he probably went, no, I'd rather play the support. You're offering me $5 million to do this vanity piece. I'll take $500,000
Mhm.
to be the sidekick or be the character.
Yeah. Or be the straight man in, like, the comedy film.
Right.
And, like, because of that, he has way more of a legitimate career in Hollywood than any wrestler that ever came before him has.
Yes.
And, like, more power to him. I can't wait to see what he's going to be doing with DC. I thought he was going to be doing something with Marvel, and apparently that did not come to pass. But
Well, a lot of people are saying that Darkseid, and I think that would be foolish because Darkseid is such a powerful villain that my question is, where do you go from there?
also with Darkseid, can you really do Darkseid while Marvel's doing Thanos? They are very freaking similar. Very.
It would be. Speaking of casting news, though, Idris Elba has come out and said, "Stop saying I should be James Bond. I'm not going to be James Bond."
And you told me this before the show started, and I said, "Who?"
Yeah, he said, "Who's it? Who's that?"
Yeah. No
Okay,
clue.
he just played Nelson Mandela in the Nelson Mandela film that just came out. British actor. He was Luther in the television program Luther.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, he played Heimdall in the Thor movie.
Okay, him. All right. He was also in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Yes.
No, wait a minute.
Pound for pound,
No.
one of the best actors in the world.
He was in Snatch. I'm sorry. He was
Snatch.
in Snatch. And he was awesome in that. And he was.
And a
awesome
lot of
in
people are saying that, hey, he's British,
Black James
he's
Bond?
good looking. A lot of people are saying Daniel Craig, I think, has 2 more left on his contract. So, well, next one, make it Idris Elba. And apparently he just kind of came out and said, no, thank you.
And why would he turn that down? I think he would do a good job.
He would do a good job, but the problem is I remember back in the 80s, Pierce Bronson was supposed to, that they were going to give it to him, but he couldn't get out of his Remington Steel contract.
Yeah, but he eventually did become James
He
Bond.
eventually did, and it didn't work for him, but you also have to do multiple movie deals. And he's doing so much other stuff all over the place, you know what I'm saying? That
So he
I can
doesn't want
understand
to-
where he's
time's
like,
up,
I'm
yeah.
not going to sign a contract where
Because that's not like a supporting role character. That's your full
You're right.
for the whole damn thing.
Right.
Yeah.
right,
So I
and
could
you
definitely-
basically
okay.
have to take 5 years off from doing anything else.
I mean, whenever they first did the first X-Men movie, they had everyone signed on for 3 films. And,
Right.
Certain characters can, like, be in the background a little bit more in that kind of movie because you're
Right.
dealing with a team movie. But with
But-
James Bond,
Right.
the lead guy is in 90% of it.
And like,
You can't exactly...
and it took a long, like, after the 3rd movie, they had to work around Wolverine. Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman.
They worked around his schedule because he's freaking Hugh Jackman. You know what I mean?
What else does he have going on?
Les Mis. Les Mis had to be delayed for a couple of years because he was doing other stuff. Now, he's Hugh freaking Jackman,
From the
and it's Les Mis.
from the
so,
reviews I've seen, maybe they should have held off a little bit longer for some singing lessons.
Oh,
or-
you're saying that Broadway star.
I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about Gladiator Boy.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I can't defend that.
Yeah, you
I can
can't.
defend a lot of things about Les Mis. My favorite musical, by the way, back when I was like 16, 17 years old, but And Javert actually, if I could hit that high note when he kills himself, would totally try to play that role forever.
Personally, my favorite is Guys and Dolls, but...
Well, you're a communist, and that's okay. I love when you look at me like that.
I'm not giving him the hate look, I'm giving him the what the hell are you talking about look.
I'm being funny.
So, can I talk about something quick? A certain Christmas special?
Oh, the new Charlie Brown Christmas special? Go ahead.
Did not catch that one, but I did catch a very good Christmas special from the BBC.
Oh, the Luther Christmas special.
Yeah, the Luther Christmas special.
Dude, watch it. It's awesome. Everybody out there, if you have the Comcast On Demand, they've got all of the Luther. Watch the Luther. I just started it, but holy shit, it's awesome. Go ahead.
I want to talk about who?
Who do you want to talk about?
That's right.
What's right?
Who?
Who what?
Doctor Who Christmas special. Come on. There's been an embargo of Doctor Who on the Nerd Exchange Facebook group for the past week.
Just for a week.
Just for a week.
Just until the 7th, because listen, we were all really excited because this was a huge deal. Mm-hmm. The 50th anniversary and the Christmas special. But hey, we don't get new Who
very often.
Till the end of the year.
Yeah.
Till the fall of this year. And this is almost kind of like a mourning period, too. Black Armband, because I really want to see what Peter Capaldi does with it. But, okay, go ahead. Now that I've done our disclaimer about why there was an embargo, that I wasn't just trying to be a dick, what were your thoughts on it?
I yet to see anything Who related that I haven't loved, so... But I really enjoyed it. It was really sad to see the Doctor regenerate, and... I've got a question for you that, I wanted to bring up on the show so we could discuss this. The 10th Doctor, it made a really big deal about his death. Now, when he died, was he under the impression that that was the end of him and he had no regenerations? Because it felt that way in the episode.
I was wrong about this a little bit.
And were they trying to pull the audience into thinking that was the end of Doctor Who?
Okay. You had the War Doctor that he knew about in his brain that he was suppressing. Mm-hmm. And he used one of his regenerations in at the end of the 4th season.
Okay.
So it was like 9 into 10, 10 into 10, then 10 into 11. So I can see where he might have thought subconsciously that it was the end of him. But also, subconsciously, the events of the 50th anniversary special were in his brain still. And I watched, because basically what happens is, you go straight from the 50th anniversary where he says, well, we'll have to change that because I don't want to go. He says, well, he always says that. He goes directly from that episode to the end of time, part 1, and goes through his thing. So it might just be like a subtextual, subconscious, like he realizes that after this is the last regeneration and then he's done. Because what I loved about the Christmas special is they actually put stuff in there for purists like me, read, pompous assholes who are like, he can't regenerate again. Mm-hmm. Of course, I did call that the Time Lords could give it to him again. But even in the show, he's like, we know the laws of regeneration. Don't you ever tell me the rules. Bah! Which was awesome, because they totally satisfied me as the Duke of Dork that, okay, reset, now we have 12 more, let's just continue on and see what he can do.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed the Christmas special. It was very sad to see the 11th Doctor go. I don't know. I don't have a favorite yet. I'm still watching and rewatching, but I really liked him as the Doctor. I really loved his charisma. He was just so much fun to watch, and it looked like he was having a good time with the role too.
Oh my goodness, yes.
More so than the 9th Doctor did. The 9th Doctor, I was not all that thrilled with. Huge fan of the 10th and the 11th, though, and also the War Doctor. I wish they could do a season of just the War Doctor.
They could.
I think there's some entertainment value to be had in that. because the actor was also so good. His name escapes me at the moment, but whoever played the War Doctor.
John Hurt?
Is that his name? He was
think
in
so.
Day of the Doctor.
Yeah.
He was also in Hellboy.
I believe so.
But yeah, I really liked him. I would love to see a season with just him. But all in all, it was a cool episode. It was a cool
I like the
ending for that particular incarnation of the Doctor.
when in the 50th anniversary special, when the conscious weapon that takes the form of Rose Tyler says, this is what you become. The man who regrets and the man who forgets. Just like, knock me over with a feather, because...
I mean, there's just such a rich mythology behind the entire series. I just keep falling more and more in love with it.
And now we can have entire seasons of trying to get Gallifrey back.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And like, what's beyond that though?
But and the thing is, if they get Gallifrey back, that means they can get Rose back. Oh, you're not up there.
No, how's Rose lost?
How far do you watch the series?
I've watched everything except for this past season.
Because she's trapped in the alternate universe.
Yeah, she's trapped in the alternate universe.
She can't come back.
So?
Bad Wolf.
Yeah, I'm familiar with all that. But
She can't ever come back.
yeah, but she's running around with another version of the 10th of the 11th.
Right,
the
but
10th
what I'm
Doctor.
saying is, they're in a pocket universe.
Mm-hmm.
They're in an alternate universe. So is Gallifrey.
Well, Rory was able to come back from a pocket universe, so why not Rose?
Actually, he was... In the Pandorica Opens, he was remade after the Big Bang. But let's not get...
Okay,
Listen.
No, not
what
Rory.
I'm saying is...
I didn't even mean Rory. I meant the guy who was Rose's boyfriend, the black dude.
Oh,
and
Mickey.
he got stuck. Yeah, Mickey. Okay, he
intentionally stayed there.
Yeah.
And the other Mickey was dead.
Okay.
The other Mickey died, and he stayed there until his grandma died, and then came back.
Yeah, but Rose is now in that pocket universe, isn't she?
She is.
Okay.
Well,
So
the
it's
point
not really
is,
like being
if he can
trapped.
figure out the impossibility of bringing Gallifrey back,
Mm-hmm.
he can figure out the impossibility of bringing Rose back without the universe being destroyed. Is my point.
So you enjoyed it?
That was all right.
Okay, well, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Back to a little movie news. Seems Paranormal Activity, the new Paranormal Activity,
Ooh.
is going to do the same kind of business, relatively, as the Avengers.
And when we say that, we mean budget.
Math. It
Yeah.
cost $5 million to make. It's already made $28 million. The Avengers cost $220 to make and made $1.5 billion, which is basically a 7 times.
Oh, I think it's made even more than that by this point.
No.
Hasn't it? It hasn't.
According to Box Office Mojo.
Okay.
That doesn't count, of course, DVD sales,
Okay.
on-demand sales, merch sales, but it basically made 7 times its original budget. Not counting for back ends and, splits with theaters and everything. Just the straight numbers. And Paranormal Activity is going to do that probably by this Thursday. And I wanted to talk to you because you're the horror movie guy. What do you think about this in terms of, I'm afraid we're going to get too many horror movies. That a lot of studios are going to say, well, why should we spend $200 million on a maybe when we can make 40 Paranormal Activity movies that people will go see and will make the same amount of money as one Avengers, but spend a lot less.
First of all, they're going to keep making those $200 million movies like The Lone Ranger and Percy Jackson and all that other kind of crap. They're still going to go with the big budget, blockbuster, spectacle kind of movies, and sometimes they'll do well, sometimes they will bomb. But the idea that, and I've been arguing for this for years, how about instead of making one crap $200 million movie, why not, take that same $200 million and make 40 low budget horror films? And it's so sad that I'm saying $5 million is a low budget. That's bull. I mean,
That's
Blair Witch Project.
See, my concern is for the stuff in the middle, for things like 12 Years a Slave, for things like Lincoln.
I think there'll still be funding for that kind of stuff. But I think.
But how much? Like, sure, right now, if you look at the movies that they're making, there aren't a huge amount of the little in the middle movies. Like, maybe out of 40 that are made in a year, maybe 6 or 7 of them right now are the in the middle ones where we're like, well, we want to get Oscar nominations.
Yeah,
you need to get Oscar nominations.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be like 1 or 2 because, any studio that goes more than a year without being nominated for anything, which I think is almost mathematically impossible to not get nominated for something as a studio. I'm just saying that, and Steven Spielberg has talked about this too, how the blockbuster, his point was the blockbuster is going to kill the middle movies. My point of view is these little $5, $10 million budget movies are going to kill the middle movies. And I don't want the middle movies to go away.
I disagree with you completely. The little itty bitty horror film that costs a few $1 million to make and pulls in 10 times its budget has always been there and always will be there for good reason. With a smaller budget like that, you can be more creative, you can take more chances. One of the most successful low-budget film of all time was Blair Witch, which cost $30,000 to make, and pulled in how many millions upon millions. And the same thing with
Clerks cost
too.
less.
I'm sure it did, and Paranormal Activity was the little low-budget film, which has become a blockbuster franchise. I mean, out of modern, and the same thing with the first Saw film. The first Saw film was, one step away from being a direct-to-video release in terms of budget, and look at how much money that has pulled in over the years. It's those little, low-budget horror flicks that, for one reason or another, get themselves into theaters and become a cultural phenomena that I think the studio should be taking more chances on. Instead of, like I said before,
well, that's the thing, though. They're not taking a chance on it. Because if you do a $5 million movie and it never gets released or just goes straight to video, you're not taking a chance on it. 12 Years a Slave, that's taking a chance. I'm gonna look up how much it costs because
like
it's
12
not.
Years a Slave.
This thing is going to clean up at the Oscars. I think it's going to sweep
stuff like 12 Years a Slave, the King's Speech, that kind of stuff. It's very clearly trying to appeal to all the film critics out there, so that they can fill their commercial with blurbs from Gene Shalit or whatever. And those movies will always be there because the studios always want to get that Oscar win, just to kind of validate what
12
they're
Years
doing.
a Slave has made $38.5 just about $1 million domestically. Doesn't seem like it was released yet. At least the numbers aren't in yet. It says not available. My guess, though, is that movie probably cost about $50 million to make.
Okay.
So, unless it does really strong overseas, it's going to lose a lot of money.
But it'll still be that,
but it's still
Oscar
going to be
contender that
right.
they want.
But what I'm saying is, for that $50 million, the studios, look, we could do this one movie for $50 million that, sure, we're going to get some Oscars and that's good, but it's going to lose money. Or we can make 10 Paranormal Activities and make $200 million. I'm just afraid that base capitalism is going to, and people have been worried about this and complaining about this for 30, 40 years, but I think we're to a point where people go, oh, well, okay, because Lincoln, good example, Lincoln was for a while supposed to be an HBO miniseries.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to do it as an HBO miniseries because no studio would pick it up. Even with Steven Spielberg's name on it, even with Daniel Day-Lewis in it, even with Sally Field in it, they went, I don't know, man. I don't know. And I'm going to look up the numbers on Lincoln. I know The King's Speech cost nearly nothing to make.
Yeah.
And it was a British movie. It was
Oh.
done by an American
Even
studio,
less than nothing.
but it was a British movie. Lincoln did okay. Lincoln did okay. But probably because Steven Spielberg, Daniel Day-Lewis, cost $65 million and worldwide made $275.
$65 million for something that was going to be an HBO special? Jesus.
Well, that was the thing.
Did they get a bump after they decided to go theatrical?
Well, that was the whole point, I think, is that he said, hey, I need $65 million to make it. And they went, $65 million for a historical drama? For an in-the-middle kind of movie? No, that's too much. Make it for $30 million, we'll talk. He's like, I can't.
Mm.
And they said, well, and I think HBO said, dude, fucking do it on HBO. We'll give you as much money as you want. But we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it and see what's going on. Now you want to go into our top 10s because we're thinking about New Year. What do we get to know us? What are our tastes really? Like, you know that I'm kind of like the superhero and comedy kind of guy, and the drama guy, and you're the horror movie guy and the stuff like that, etc., etc. So, what are your top 10 movies of all time?
My top 10. Okay. Well, I'm gonna first do my top 10 non-horror, or
we'll call this genre.
I did a top 10 horror list, which I'll get to after this list. But okay, top 10 favorite movies of all time. No particular order. Ghostbusters. Loved it as a kid. Still love it now. Still a great flick. Your thoughts?
It was groundbreaking. It's groundbreaking for comedy because it showed you can do more than just slice of life comedy, which was really big in the 70s, thanks to Annie Hall and movies like that. So yeah, that's an important movie. Not on my list, but
one of my all-time favorites, and I will always love it, and I can go back to it and appreciate it even more now as an adult, now that I get all the jokes and, ghost blowjobs and so forth.
Oh, I got that. I got that as a little kid.
Well, when I was a kid, I did not get that one.
Oh, just for the record, King's Speech made worldwide $424 million, cost $15 million.
Yeah,
so when I say nothing, that's what I mean. Okay, so what's your number 9?
Number 9? Well, number 9 and number 8, might as well do them both at the same time. Star Wars Episodes 4 and 6.
Okay.
In my top 10 of all time. Those are my two particular favorites. Either of those on your list?
I have the original Star Wars on my list.
Okay, Episode 4.
And I almost think that you can put the entire trilogy as one.
Yeah,
the original trilogy.
I was going to do like a cop-out and just say the saga.
I'd be okay with that. I wouldn't consider that a cheat.
Like it's like I like them to varying degrees, but like all 6 of them I enjoy. Even the prequel films I enjoy to a certain extent. And I'll always be a Star Wars fan. But yeah, those are my two favorite out of the 6, so that's what I put on my list. So coming in at number 7, once again, no particular order, Reservoir Dogs.
Wait, no particular order?
Yeah, these are no.
What's the point of having a top 10 list if there's no particular order?
It's the top 10, just I did not want to rank them. Reservoir Dogs. Quentin Tarantino's first, as far as directing goes, debut. Love that flick. I can watch it a million times. You a Tarantino fan? Just a meh?
I can appreciate what he did for filmmaking.
Well, I
can appreciate it, but I like his stuff. Like Dusk Till Dawn, yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Not in my top 10. Would probably be in my top 30. You know what I'm saying? Pulp Fiction probably would be in my top 20, but it's not my top 10. Because I actually rank these as a top 10. But anyway.
But, I've yet to see a bad film. Like, I've yet to see a Quentin Tarantino film that I did not enjoy.
That's true. It's never lazy.
I like...
You never see a Tarantino film that's just like... And I haven't seen Django Unchained, but from what I understand, it's superb. It might have made my top 10 if I'd actually seen it.
Yeah, I still have to check that one out myself. But like, the guy can work in any freaking genre. I mean, his films are all over the place. Kill Bill, Death Proof, Jackie Brown, Inglourious Bastards. I love all of them. And I love seeing him screw around with other genres of film that he has done in the past.
I can
And
appreciate
I'd like
that.
to
I
see
can
him do
appreciate
more of
that.
that in the future. I would like to see him do like a balls to the wall slasher flick. Imagine Tarantino doing a slasher flick. That would be interesting, I think.
It would.
Or a balls to the wall, just supernatural horror film, or
Okay, so what's your number? What's your number 5 in no particular order?
my number. What's that? I think I'm on my number 6 in no particular order. Actually, Casino.
Really?
Yeah, I love that flick. I really do. Scorsese, I like him more than Goodfellas, and I love Goodfellas too. It didn't make my list, but I love Goodfellas too. But Casino, I like a lot more. It's more of with Goodfellas, we saw the street level kind of mobsters. With Casino, we were seeing more of the top tier kind of gangsters.
Okay.
And it's just a really good flick in my opinion, and I can always go back to and watch it again. I never get bored with it.
Wouldn't have been in my top 50, but not a bad movie. I'm not saying it's bad. It's...
Okay, next flick on the list, Saving Private Ryan. One of my all-time faves.
Would be in my top 20, not my top 10.
Great war flick, great acting out of everyone involved.
And that movie helped get rid of a lot of the puritanical FCC stuff. Did you know this? Here's the connection with it. The ABC was going to show Saving Private Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've seen the movie, and if you haven't, you should. The first 20 minutes of that is basically people getting blown up and dying on screen.
It's a gore fest.
It's a gore fest, but it's like a reality, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, this is what happened. And they went up against the FCC because the FCC kind of said, well, you got to take out that part. It's like, it establishes the whole movie. You can't take out the landing on Normandy Beach. And ABC said, screw it, just do it. And the FCC didn't find them. They had a choice. They were like, well, technically, we should be going after blood and guts as much as we are titties. But then they didn't. And then once they didn't, then people who wanted to say fuck on screen or wanted to show a little more skin had an argument. So I really appreciate it for that as well.
Yeah, but love that flick. I never get tired of it. I can watch it a million times. Next one on my list, aside from Ghostbusters, the only comedy on my list, Dogma. Love that movie.
One of my favorite movies, but not in my top 10.
It's my favorite Kevin Smith movie by far, and I think it helps a lot being a Catholic to laugh at a lot of the stuff that's in that film. It's actually the first Kevin Smith film my mother ever saw. I actually took her to go see that.
I'm going to grab a lozenge, but that was the first one he ever wrote too.
Really?
He wrote that when he was like 13, 14 years old. Like a lot of the speeches about faith and whatnot.
Yeah, like if you've listened to the show, you know my background is I'm a Catholic, so just a lot of the stuff in there and a lot of the things said about films. It's a very faith-reassuring film and a faith-enforcing film, and the mock outrage and so forth that went on whenever it was being released, which was such a big deal. Yes, please. And it was the first film by him that my mother ever saw. My mother got hooked on him. My mother's also Catholic and pretty conservative, but she said it was really a faith-affirming movie in her opinion. And there is a lot of things in there that really do, make you proud of your faith. And in addition, it's fucking hilarious. It's one of the funniest movies I've ever seen, and I just love it on so many different levels. Kevin Smith, thank you for that film. I wish you were making more. Like, I've yet to see a Kevin Smith film I haven't enjoyed on some level. Yet to see Jersey Girl. That being said, still haven't seen that flick. But even Clerks 2, I thought was hilarious. And just my favorite film by that particular filmmaker. And Mr. Smith, thank you. You are awesome. Next movie on my film could have very easily gone onto the horror list, but I figured, what the hell, I'll put it on this list since my horror list is pretty full. Jaws. One of my all-time favorites, and a film that I can... If it's on TBS or something, I can't change the channel. That's how much I love that flick. Would probably be... If I had ranked these, it would probably have been in my top 2 of favorite movie.
It's a good movie. Like, the thing is, as a critic, I like... There's an aspect of the work itself and what it did on the screen. There's also an aspect of how it affected the world. Mm-hmm. Like we were talking about Saving Private Ryan and how, and you know, I like to find those connections and to see how things help us evolve. Mm-hmm. Jaws gave sharks a bad name. For 50 years.
I know.
Like, it's in the last decade where all of a sudden people are like, wait a minute, we shouldn't be killing all these sharks. That's wrong.
There was a huge movement in, people going out and shark hunting after that flick came out. Like, people became interested in that and went out and killed a lot of sharks.
It's a great movie. Mitigated to my mind why it wouldn't probably even make my top 20 based on the actual impact it had on the world. Mm-hmm. Like, even eventually, even the guy who wrote it afterwards was like, oh, people didn't realize that it was a satire, and then I was... He basically said that he didn't realize people were going to take him that seriously, and that it's a satire, and sharks aren't that dangerous, and that's why it's funny that this shark would be eating people. It's kind of like how Oliver Stone in Wall Street, when he was talking about greed is good, that was supposed to be a moment of reflection for the audience, like, oh yeah, greed is bad because it's destroying these people's lives. And people in the 80s, and trust me, I was in college when they was like, fuck yeah, greed! Yeah, and he just kind of had to say, he stopped making films for like 5 years because he was like, holy shit, I tried to make a social commentary and people went, fuck. But anyway, still a good film. I can appreciate it, but okay, so what's...
One of the greatest speeches in the history of film, in my opinion. Quint's whole story about delivering the bomb. Awesome scene.
I give you that. I give you that.
And he was half in the bag for it.
Oh, how could you not be?
Okay, down to the last 2. Dark Knight Rises. No, not Dark Knight Rises, just Dark Knight, sorry.
Oh, yeah. I was in Dark Knight Rises. And you're going to be like, oh, not that one. That one sucked.
I hated Dark Knight. I hated Rises long before I knew you were an extra in it. But Dark Knight, yes.
I was a background artiste. Thank you very much.
Thank you, henchman number 32. But
Dark Knight number 37.
That's right. Get it right. Okay.
Dark Knight, awesome. Perfect comic book movie. You forget you're watching a comic book movie while you're watching that flick.
That's true.
It's like you're watching...
And Heath Ledger deserved the Oscar
drama.
for it.
Oh, yeah. Robbed. Fucking robbed.
And I thought he won.
Did he win?
He won the Oscar for that.
I could have sworn I went... Okay, I'm probably wrong, but I could have sworn he got robbed of it.
Well, I'll look it up later. And then
no, it got robbed for Best Picture. I'm sorry.
For Best Picture. But the fact is, again, let's look at the impact. Had he not died, you would have had a lot more superhero movies and genre movies get Oscar nods. Mm-hmm. You know, but the thing is with the Oscars, it's like, it's for the small and the middle movies. You know, like a comedy hasn't won Best Picture since... Anybody?
No clue.
Annie Hall, 1977.
It actually got Best Picture?
It did. It beat Star Wars. Everyone thought Star Wars was going to win Best Picture. But it didn't. Had he survived, I think it would have opened up a lot of genre films to awards. But a lot of people now went, well, they gave it to him, 55% because he died. And 45% because it was one of the best performances ever.
I mean, just it's not just a great comic book movie, it's just a great movie in general. And being a Batman fan, it so perfectly portrays the character and the relationship between him and the Joker, and how they are, like, it conveys, like, the forces that they are, how the Joker is just pure chaos and Batman is just pure not chaos, for lack of a better term. He's lawful good.
Okay.
Joker's chaotic evil, for those of our
All right, I'm going to start.
game-playing friends.
I'm going to start on
And
my list now.
Oh, what? I got one last one.
Oh.
One last
Number one in no particular order.
Number one in no particular order, but this would probably be in the top two, along with Jaws. Not sure which one I would love more. The Crow. Awesome.
Really?
flick. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Oh,
flick.
man.
Come on.
What, you don't like
Are
the
you
Crow?
kidding me? You do not like The Crow.
Are you
I like The Crow, but I can't imagine it being... It might be in my top 100, but just... The thing is, once you hear my list, and we kind of like merge them together,
Okay.
you might understand more why I think that... The fact that you said it last, too, even though it was like in no particular order,
Mhm.
you have all these great movies, you know, like Jaws and The Crow.
Come on. One of the most perfect
I think,
things ever.
again, had he not died, I don't think
Perfect.
it would have stuck in people's
Maybe
minds
not.
as much.
I think it still would have, even if he
All right,
hadn't
let me start my list. So let me
All right.
show you where I'm coming from. Number 10, in a particular order,
Oh.
As Good as It Gets.
Awesome flick. Very funny. I love Jack Nicholson in that.
That movie, I cried at the end, not because it was particularly sad, but because I realized after I watched it, because I watched it on VHS. Yeah, that's right, I said it.
I probably still have my VHS of it, so.
The fact that Titanic beat it for Best Picture.
I'm not surprised.
Because it won, Jack Nicholson won, Helen Hunt won, I think Greg Kinnear won. He was at least nominated. Because that was a big deal. Like, one picture got all the acting things, and then Titanic wins Best Picture. Oh my goodness.
I think Titanic won Best Picture that year because there would have been an angry teen girl riot if they didn't get anything.
Well, they got costumes or something. Okay, so anyway, As Good as It Gets. If you haven't seen it, see it again and again and again. Because I think you will. Because if you enjoy good movies that have character development and story arc and just, it's great. Okay?
Alright.
And number 9, in a particular order, another Jack Nicholson flick, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Been a long time, but I remember enjoying it.
Never saw it.
It's
Definitely on many lists of the top 10 greatest films of all time. Nothing to be argued with there.
okay. Number 8, When Harry Met Sally.
Really?
Yes. And you know what?
Orgasm scene?
Well, I'm not going to say I don't have that on a loop, but it redefined the romantic comedy. That film redefined it. The original film that defined it was Annie Hall. Annie Hall was originally supposed to be a murder mystery, but it wasn't working. And there was a little old editor who basically told Woody Allen to fuck off. From the stories I've heard, fuck off, let me make this something. And he made it Annie Hall. Because that whole thing was like a little subplot of this murder mystery thing.
What the hell was the murder mystery in Annie
Well, we
Hall?
don't know because it took all that crap out. But When Harry Met Sally, Billy Crystal, Meg Ryan, allowed for an expansion of that genre, because before that movie, between 77 and basically 87, there weren't that many good ones, romantic comedies. So, and I really, really like that movie. Number 7, another thing that, movie that defined a generation and a genre, 4 Weddings and a Funeral.
Never seen it.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Okay, if it's on.
Oh my god, it's so good. It's Hugh Grant. It's a Hugh Grant movie. It's his first one, really, as a leading character. It's about a group of friends. Imagine like Friends, a TV show, but in England, and it doesn't stink. That is 4 Weddings and a Funeral. Number 6, The Godfather.
Oh, definitely.
And if I could cheat, I'm going to put Godfather 2 in as well.
I actually prefer 2 over 1 a little bit.
It's
A little bit.
It's almost
A
like
hair.
one movie. Like I used to watch that both in a row.
Well, in the book, it was one movie. At least with all the flashback stuff. Yeah. How can you argue with that? Godfather, one of the greatest films ever made.
Okay, number 5.
Even if Peter Griffin doesn't like it.
Oh, it insists upon itself, Lois.
What does that even mean?
It insists upon itself. It's
I
like they're talking every like they're talking Italian.
I like The Money Pit.
I like that movie too. Number 5 on my list, White Christmas.
Not familiar with it. That's what?
You have to. I've got it on DVD here somewhere. I'm going to let you borrow it.
Yeah, I'm not watching.
Watch it. Listen.
It's
Here's
what?
the thing about White Christmas. You look at it and you go, "Oh, it's a Christmas movie." Oh, it's not. It is, but it isn't, because it's a war movie. It's a buddy movie. Danny Kaye and Bing Crosby. Okay, and it's a show business behind the scenes movie. Because they play like a Martin and Lewis kind of duo.
All right.
Who end up in Vermont with a couple of dames they meet in Florida. At an inn, a ski lodge run by their old general from the war.
Okay.
And they're trying to save him from bankruptcy because there's no snow. There's no snow in White Christmas. The whole storyline is, why isn't there any snow?
So they have to have a talent show to save the youth center.
It's not a talent show. It's not a talent show, but they do kind of bring up their entire show from New York City to practice new stuff. To practice new stuff. So in between the actual action of the story, you get like cool musical numbers that you don't see anymore. And even when it was made in the 50s, you didn't really see anymore. It's great. It's awesome. You gotta watch it. Take 2 hours. You won't regret it.
All right.
Trust me. Trust me.
All right.
Number 4, the Star Wars saga.
Okay.
I'm just gonna put saga next to it. Because I kind of like, well, Empire was better, but this was a little bit better than that. Okay. Number 3, Annie Hall. Talked about it a little earlier. The whole idea of...
It's been many years since I've seen
reimagining of the genre. And the best scene is when they're hitting on each other on the roof outside of her apartment, and they're talking and they subtitle it, and he's like, well, photography's interesting because, you know, a set of aesthetic criteria haven't emerged yet. And like the subtitle's like, wow, this is a good looking girl. And she's like, aesthetic criteria? Does that mean like if it's a good photo or not? And she's like, I hope he's not a schmuck like the others. Awesome. If you haven't watched it, watch it.
What, are we driving through plutonium?
16-year-old twins, Max. 16. You realize the mathematical possibilities?
Oh, the cocaine scene in that flick.
Oh, yeah.
So I would have murdered him. I would have murdered him.
It wasn't a whole ounce. It was just a little bit. Calm down.
Still. When you're enjoying a couple of rails, you know, for that to happen.
It was the 70s. There were plenty of rails to go around. Anyway, number 2, in a particular order, A River Runs Through It.
All right.
Have you seen it?
Nope.
It is so good. Oh my God. I'm like a teenage girl talking about Twilight about this movie. It's based on a memoir of an English professor. And Robert Redford read this memoir and was on this guy for 10 years to make it into a movie. And he said, fuck you. Hollywood always fucks things up. You may not have it ever, ever, ever go away. And finally, Robert Redford's like, please, gotta let me do this movie. He said, okay, here's the thing. If you make my memoir word for word and shot for shot in the order that I wrote it, you can have it.
All right.
But if you change one word or change the placement of one scene, it's mine and you can never release it. So Robert Redford went and did this guy's memoir. So here's the thing. There are parts of it that, as a film, are a little bit slow. The big metaphor in it is fly fishing. And they're in Montana. So it's the kind of thing you have to immerse yourself in. If you're just looking for a movie to watch because you got 2 hours to kill, don't watch it.
Mhm.
But if you like, you know, if you're on that awkward third date with a girl where you are hanging out at your place to watch a movie for the first time, pop this in. It's not a makeout movie. It's not like Austin Powers where you can just like, but if you actually want to see how somebody reacts to a human story, and if you want to make yourself look good because it's a really good movie, do it.
Yeah, you want to make that movie, try AVP Requiem.
Back in the late 90s, I saw the first half of Austin Powers, Man of Mystery on VHS about 6 times. 6 times is how many? Julia's looking at me really funny now. Anyway, now, we're to my number one.
All right, and
What do you think is my number one? Guess. I want you to guess what you think my number one is. Star Wars is already on the list.
Give me a second. I'll come up with something funny. Kramer versus Kramer.
Mamma Mia?
Both would probably be in my top 20. But no.
Heaven's Gate.
No.
Rent.
I'll give you a clue.
The Crippled Masters.
The Muppet Show?
Dynasty?
Fuck yous! Fuck yous!
No, not Dynasty. Not Dynasty. Falcon Crest. Falcon Crest. That's... What's not Falcon
Amadeus.
Amadeus. Okay, good flick. Very
F.
good flick.
Murray Abraham won the Oscar. He deserved to win the Oscar the next 3 years. It was so good. And I'm gonna go straight into my favorite bad movies. Can I do that?
Go right
The
ahead.
first 5, my top 5. Number 5. Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Really? Nobody's gonna yell at me?
What, am I supposed to yell at you because it's on the bad movie list?
Yes.
Oh my god, it was so low budget they hung a lantern on their budget in the film. I'm surprised they actually built a rabbit to destroy, even though it was probably made out of parts of a tumbled down shed on the next lot.
Okay. So you made my argument for me. I thought I would get more pushback than that. Okay. Number 4. Phantom Menace.
It has its moments.
I have
It's
to
not
defend
terrible.
I have to defend it for Jar Jar, which was an appropriate and necessary character. We've had this argument before, how you had to get kids into the story, and if it was just about taxes and trade routes, the kids wouldn't have gotten into the story.
Well, taxes and trade routes should have been cut out too, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, yeah, if they would have had a little bit more action-packed, like if they would have done oh, okay, we're doing the Clone Wars, and here's Anakin Skywalker and Ben Kenobi, and we're just in media res, let's go. But if you're going to do the thing with the little kid, you got to have things that little kids will like and relate to.
Right.
And me, because I like Jar Jar. There, I said it. What? I like Jar Jar. Number 3 for me, Roadhouse.
That movie just came up today at home between me and my mother.
Really?
Yeah, we were talking about that. It's my way or the highway.
Well, what if they call me a cocksucker? Do
You
you suck cocks? No? What's the problem? Be nice.
We really should have sang the Patrick Swayze Christmas song for this episode. No, a Roadhouse Christmas, sorry. From Mystery Science Theater. You
Yeah,
don't remember that one? Come on.
I don't.
The
I
Patrick
don't.
Swayze Christmas.
Okay. And
Tim, you're my new Sunday night thing.
Wait, let me show you my Sears card as my ID. The second one I can't read what my chicken scratch is. So I'll go back to my number 1, which we
Okay.
talked about before, They Live.
Which I think is a legitimately good film.
Oh, it's so bad.
It is
Oh, I'm
awesome.
sorry. Howard the Duck.
Ah,
Howard the Duck's my second one.
okay, Howard the Duck's number 2.
And again, if you understand the significance of it, because originally Lucas wanted to make an animated movie. It was coming right off the heels of movies like Rock and Roll and Heavy Metal. He wanted to make an animated Howard the Duck movie where he could be dirty.
Mhm.
We could make an R-rated movie, which would have been awesome. And the studio said, "No, you owe us a live-action movie." But I don't want to. I want to do this anime and do it good. Nope, live action. And if you actually look at it, we got the 25th anniversary DVD, and on the extras they have all these great documentaries from the writers and the creators of the Duck, and the guy who played the Duck most of the time, who actually managed to get some expression out of his body. So the little person got some expression out of his body. With what they had to deal with to
Right.
make that movie,
Lots of behind-the-scenes crap.
it's awesome. So get that. But they live not a good.
I'm a sucker for some Carpenter. What can I say?
Well, and the fact is, it could have been, but the fact is, the editing and the pacing of the movies, it didn't work. It just did not work. But it worked. Because it's one of those things, like, if you like the genre, if you're into, like, the whole quasi-apocalyptic, but not quite alien invasion movie, it's awesome, you know? Marry and reproduce, consume.
This is your god.
This is your god, exactly. Awesome, but not executed well.
I will disagree with you on that, but wouldn't be the first time tonight.
Let's watch it again. Let's do a Mystery Science 3000.
Okay. Oh, I'm
Oh, They
definitely
Live.
up for that. Definitely up for that.
Right on. Okay. Let's move now to your genre movies, your horror
Okay.
movies.
My
Now,
horror
we'll
movies.
see how many of these I've even never seen.
I'm
but-
pretty sure you've seen all of these. Well, if not all, most. Should bring up the most obvious one first. Night of the Living Dead. I love that fucking movie.
Are these again in no particular order?
Well, I'll say Night of the Living Dead at number 1.
Okay.
And we'll be going backwards, just so I can be a little more difficult.
Well, yeah.
But
Because this doesn't bend my bolt at all. Go ahead.
The original Night of the Living Dead, one of my all-time favorite books. Love it. Love how it, like you said with Annie Hall and with When Harry Met Sally, it really just catapulted the genre ahead. I mean,
Created
before,
it.
yeah, I mean, before Night of the Living Dead, you know, the 50s and the 60s horror was all atomic, kind of,
Aliens
Yeah.
and creatures from the Black Lagoon.
and tongue-in-cheek, and, you know, scientists and the military dealing with stuff. Like, Night of the Living Dead, it was so genuine and so real-world. It was very real-world, and it was...
And the ending, my favorite part about that was the ending.
Mhm.
Because when that one character gets killed, I won't say
Yeah.
which in case you've never seen it, but the one character
It's
gets
been
killed.
almost 50 years. I think we're safe.
I don't know,
At
man.
this
People get.
point.
I get emails. What the fuck, man? No, the African American character in that, who pretty much saves everybody, who
Ben.
gets everybody to realize their own humanity to get through it all. Yeah, he does, dude. Come on. Don't look at me like that. You know I'm right.
Keep going. Keep going.
When they finally are getting rescued, and he's running toward the army guys, and the army guys shoot him dead. And it's kind of like half like, was it really because they thought he was a zombie, or was it because a black man was running at him?
Well, see, that was the thing about the script, and it was never specified in the script that Ben's character was a black man. That's just how that happened to that character.
Beautiful casting.
And the whole thing that, you know, an African American being a lead, and it not be, it like he just so happens to be black. And you're looking at, it's a very real world film where these people are thrust together because of the situation. And, you know, the whole thing about Ben, he was never written as a black character. He just happened, the actor Dwayne Jones, I believe was his name. If I'm sorry about that, I apologize. Just happened to be the best actor who auditioned. And he owned that role, and it's really sad that he died so young and we didn't see more films out of him. But it made filmmakers want to base their horror movies in a more real world setting and less of a cheesy kind of sci-fi kind of setting like so many horror films up to that point had been in.
So what's some of the others?
And a film which kind of ties with number one, Night of the Living Dead 90. Made by Tom Savini. I love that film. It is exactly how a remake should be. It's just such a perfect film. If you haven't seen it, track it down. It's freaking awesome.
I've watched parts of that,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't keep my interest.
It's like I don't even know you somehow.
I tried, man.
I tried.
That
love that.
I'll give it another try. I'll give it. You watch White Christmas. I'll rewatch 90.
Okay. Coming in next, the next two are kind of related. The next one is Dawn of the Dead. Love that flick. And, once again...
That's the one in the mall?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome flick. Such just great all around. Great effects. Great gore. And, just be like...
Another flick Tom Savini was in. Local legend.
And he also did a lot of the stunts in that film. And there's also, if you can track it down, find Document of the Dead, or Documentary of the Dead, where it's all like behind the scenes of the making of Dawn of the Dead. And this documentary was made before the film was even released and before people realized what a cultural phenomenon it was going to be.
Okay.
And, yet another happy coincidence. Everyone tries to, instill like messages into George Romero's early films, like the whole thing with Night of the Living Dead and racism, and it just so happened that the actor who auditioned for Ben was the best actor for the job. It could have been very easily played by a white person. He wasn't trying to make a comment there. It's just people have attributed things to it. With Dawn of the Dead, everyone...
Well, and Peter Benchley didn't mean for people to hate on sharks for 40 years.
And with Dawn of the Dead, everyone was talking about, this is all a big thing about commercialism.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. He was friends with the people who owned the mall. That's why he filmed in there.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing about great art, is you can have great things as unintended consequences.
Okay. And the next one, a film you insulted in our very first episode. We might have recorded that or might not have recorded that part. When you insulted one of my all-time favorite movies, Return of the Living Dead.
Hey, I watched it. I've watched it more than once. It's funny. It's campy. If I had done 10 instead of 5 for my best bad movies, it would be on it.
Send more paramedics. What do you think this is? You think this is a costume? This is a way of life. Love that flick. Always will. Very hard film to find back in like the late 90s, early 2000s. My first copy that I ever actually had of it was a bootleg VHS, which was made off of the Laserdisc of the film that I got from a local video store. Love that flick, and I always will. It's just superb, and it's kind of yet another unofficial sequel to Night of the Living Dead. As some of you may know, John Romero and George Russo, who together wrote
I used to own it on
Night of the Living
VHS.
Dead, they kind of went off everyone who was involved in the original Night of the Living Dead all went off in their own separate directions and made their own sequels. And Dawn of the Dead was one of those directions that George Romero decided to go in. John Russo decided to go with Return of the Living Dead. There's also such films as Children of the Living Dead and Flesh Eater, which are pretty bad, but bad in a good kind of way, kind of bad. But yeah, if you haven't seen Return of the Living Dead, definitely check it out. And it has an awesome freaking soundtrack, too. I actually have the soundtrack in my car right now.
Like I said, I used to own it on VHS. I've watched it more than once. Whenever I wanted some mindless fare. Because they had all the brains.
Whenever you want to see Linnea Quigley, doing a striptease in a graveyard.
Okay, so it was a little worn out on the VHS tape when she did that.
And you broke the slow-mo button. Next one, The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing. Love that movie.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie.
Excellent film.
I cannot hate on that movie.
Great paranoia. just all around, just so fucking awesome. And it's such a tragedy that it bombed when it came out. It came out within weeks of E.T., which a lot of people think. Yeah, a lot of people think that's the reason why it didn't do so well. And it was really blasted by critics whenever it came out, and fans. If you go back to like the old Fangoria magazines that were coming out at the time, fans were hating it. So now it's one of the top films of the genre.
You're not talking about the 2011 The Thing, then? I love it when you look at me like that.
Well, right now I'm trying to make his head explode scanner style. This may take a while, folks. And while that's going on, I'll talk about the next film on my list, kind of related to the last film. The Thing from Another World. The original adaptation of that particular story, which was not even remotely like the story it was originally based upon. But still, if you haven't seen The Thing from Another World, it is a classic that you definitely have to check out. And just like Night of the Living Dead, it really introduced a lot of things into the horror genre that hadn't been there before. It wasn't nearly, it's not nearly as well known as Night of the Living Dead, but it's definitely a game changer that you should check out. Next up on the list, In the Mouth of Madness from John Carpenter. Have you seen that flick?
I'm not sure.
Awesome flick.
I've seen Reanimator. I don't know if that's John Carpenter. It's the same mythos, though.
It is not.
It is not?
No. Reanimator is... Yeah.
I thought it was based on the same guy who wrote all the Cthulhu stories. I thought that's H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Reanimator was based on a story
yes,
by...
Yes, it was, but In the Mouth of Madness, like the name of the author in The Mouth of Madness is Sutter Kane, but John Carpenter is heavily influenced by H.P. Lovecraft. You can see that in The Thing. You can see that in Prince of Darkness and a lot of his other films. But In the Mouth of Madness is about a fictional author whose works become so popular that it becomes a religion and it kind of ends up destroying the world.
Oh,
and
sure. It happens all the time.
The character in it is clearly inspired, based on Lovecraft. And a lot of the stuff in the movie, there's this fictional town that this author creates, which is something that Lovecraft did left and right. And it's, very heavily it's a Lovecraftian film that's not actually based on Lovecraft. And it's definitely flick that you should check out. Next up on the list, Creepshow. Awesome movie.
So bad, but so good.
Oh, God. You're getting that look again.
No, man. Okay, listen.
Written.
For what it is. Listen, for what it is. Which was just a summer homage to old creepy comic books. It was awesome. But taken just as a film? Come on, man.
I'm sorry. I gotta completely disagree with you.
I can hold my breath for a long time.
Written by Stephen King. Directed by George Romero. And special effects by Tom frickin' Savini.
It's good. Listen. It's... Creepshow 2 sucked.
It had its moments, but not nearly even remotely as good. Hey, just be thankful you haven't seen Creepshow 3.
Oh, it'll come.
Okay, next up on the list, Bride of Frankenstein. Love that flick. Definitely my favorite of the classic Universal horror flicks.
I can't say anything bad about that. It's
an awesome flick that you should definitely check out.
If I was making my top 10 horror movies, that would definitely be on it.
Okay, and the final one on this list, where I'm sure I'm gonna get some negative feedback from, House of 1,000 Corpses. Oh, you've seen it?
I've seen it.
Oh, I've seen it.
Okay.
It's an acquired taste.
My problem with knife kill flicks is there's a certain pattern to them. You know, like The Virgin Survives.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who's the most sexually promiscuous dies first, or the girl actually said.
The jock dies.
Blonde chick, jock dude, black guy. That order. Every time. I found nothing redeeming about it. I found no
life affirmation. And I know that sounds like a kind of, you know, pansy-ass kind of, you know, liberal thing to say, but you look at your other movies on it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, even Creepshow. There was a morality tale there in all of those vignettes that I got. Maybe I just didn't get the Rob Zombie thing.
Well, House of a
'Cause-
Thousand Corpses, it's like you're on the worst acid trip anyone has ever taken in their life. And it's just gory and disturbing and offensive, and I just love it. And I love the films of Rob Zombie. I'm a Rob Zombie defender. I love his films. I even like this Halloween remix. But House of a Thousand Corpses, I just, in particular, that film, I really just thoroughly enjoy.
We'll disagree on that.
Okay. We do on most things.
Okay. TV. Let me do TV first.
Okay, go ahead.
And here's where my apologies come in. Because the number 10 on my list of top 10, that I downgraded this show. I had never watched it. I'd only seen previews for it. And based on the previews for it, I thought that it was just junk.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was just exploitative junk.
All right.
Like I said, I don't apologize often. Remember, one of the other times I apologized, for some reason, I thought that foxes were rodents. I don't know why. I used to drink a lot, man, but I was sure that foxes were rodents. And so, no, they're dogs. They're in the dog family. It's like, nope, rodents.
It wouldn't surprise me.
And I was wrong, and I did the thing where I stood up and said, hey, everybody, I was wrong as a motherfucker. Why would I say that? And that program is HBO's Girls.
Never even heard of it.
It is a millennial kind of Friends, Little Women for the postmodern age. It's Lena Dunham, who I put down on this program before, as just being kind of derivative, and why are you telling stories based on the insecurities of young women and this and that. And I watched it. I binge watched it because the third season's coming up. I watched it on the HBO On Demand, and I gotta say, I was 100% wrong. It is brilliant. She is awesome. And even though some of the characters are like that, because everybody in it's millennial, they're self-absorbed, they're self-obsessed, and this and that, but it is an awesome show. Executive produced by Judd Apatow, by the way, which I didn't know. And I think one of the reasons why I had such a thing against it when I was watching it is the lead character looks a lot like my ex-wife.
Okay.
Like a lot. Like a lot. And I think that might have been one of the things that, even watching the previews, like, oh my goodness. Not that I have anything against my ex-wife. She did the best she could. I was an asshole. But it's an awesome show. You should watch it. Number 9, The Bob Newhart Show. The original.
I was going to do a Larry, Daryl, and Daryl joke, but... Okay,
I like that as well. I like Newhart. But when I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to watch much TV. Like Mary Tyler Moore Show, Bob Newhart Show, Washington Week in Review. Like I would sneak down the steps and watch Wonder Woman from across the room. But I wasn't allowed to watch it because it was too grown up.
How was Wonder Woman too grown up?
Boobs? I don't know.
Not like they were popping out.
Which, number 8, The Muppet Show, was
Great
the one.
show.
When I was a little kid, I was allowed to watch the Mickey Mouse Club, the reruns, when I came home from school. I was allowed to watch Star Trek at 7 o'clock, which was in its first run of syndication.
Mm-hmm.
And I was allowed to watch The Muppet Show. Those were the quote-unquote kid shows I was allowed to watch. Number 7, The Big Bang Theory.
Okay, show. I've caught a few episodes.
It's right. Here's what I love about The Big Bang Theory. You know how the original Star Wars trilogy was about the redemption of Vader?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, The Big Bang Theory is about the redemption of Sheldon.
Okay.
Listen. It's
All
the
right.
same kind of structure, because you've got Sheldon, who starts from being like completely closed off, like, mental case with lawn furniture in his apartment because he doesn't want any visitors, to now he has a girlfriend who eventually he's going to have sex with. And then it's going to, and trust me, the joke's going to be that he's really good at it. And here's what they're going to say. Say, well, Leonard, I taught myself how to swim on the internet. There are a lot more websites about this. Okay, so it's all about the redemption of Sheldon, and it's going to probably apex when he does win the Nobel Prize in something. And all of the other characters, like if you look at Star Wars, just the first movie, episode 4, whatever you want to call it, you know, you think it's about Luke and Leia. It's not. It's about Darth Vader. Just like on the Big Bang Theory, you think it's about Leonard and Penny, but it's really about Sheldon. That's why I like it.
Okay.
Because I think it's overarching. Doctor Who is in my number 6 slot.
Great show.
All of it. The saga. Everything. Old, new. Number 5, Law and Order, the original. The original. Because again, it was a complete reimagining of the genre of cop shows back in the early 90s. Number 4 is Star Trek. The original Star Trek. Next Generation, if I did 20, would be in my top 20.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think any of the other Star Treks would be in my top 20. Number 3, MASH.
Never got all that into
Another show I was allowed to watch at a young age, which was really weird. Like, you know, don't look at boobies, but here, watch people who've been blown up. Even back when I was a kid, I thought that was pretty good. Number 2, All in the Family.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, God, eat it.
Can't do much.
God, eat it. Oh, watch it. Why are you such a bigot? No, it's because of a redemption factor of, here's a guy who lived his entire life where nobody told him anything different than what he thought.
Yeah.
He was a racist, he was a bigot, he was a sexist, and the whole dynamic of the show was him evolving. And there actually is the first time on TV you had a transgender character.
I did not realize that.
I can't remember for the life of me. I'll look this up, and I should have looked it up before.
That
But
would have been hugely groundbreaking at the time. That
Yeah.
came out.
it was a cross-dresser. They weren't talking about, like, surgery or anything, but they hinted at it, but they didn't really say it. And the whole story arc with this character, it was a recurring character over one of the seasons. Her name was Beverly, I think. And the whole thing was Archie coming to terms with the fact that Edith's friend was actually born a man and this and that, but lived as a woman. And he does. He gets there. And then Beverly goes to go catch a bus and gets gay bashed to death. That's how they end the episode.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. On television.
A darker episode?
On American television. Well, there's one episode where Edith gets raped.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah. That was a big deal. Like, attempted rape. Doesn't get all the way,
okay.
but they deal with that.
It was
And,
definitely a show of its time, and it's really probably, like, we look back at it now, but at the time, that was very groundbreaking, and just the, Archie really was the voice of the older viewers, and his daughter was the voice, and her husband were the voice of the younger viewers.
And then you had Edith.
Yeah.
The beautiful, the glorious Miss Stapleton that bridged the gap in between the two.
Yeah.
In fact, there was basically an Aryan Brotherhood kind of group, a separatist white supremacist group that was counterfeiting money to buy guns to kill Norman Lear. Like, that was their entire reason for being, was killing Norman Lear for putting this out and making people realize how stupid racism was.
Wait, this is something that actually happened?
This is something that actually happened.
Okay, because
I worked on a play when I was in college called In God's Country. And it had all these different people, and they talked about Ruby Ridge, and they talked about they made a movie about it, the Jewish guy in Denver that got killed by white supremacists, and these other guys that were buying weapons, counterfeiting money to buy weapons so they could assassinate Norman Lear. because of that show, specifically. And, like, quoting from letters that they wrote and public statements about how this Jew had to die because he was basically poisoning people's minds against the truth about race relations.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I tend to be a big picture guy, which is weird because my number one show is Supernatural.
Wow.
Yeah. Because
Your
I was
number one
thinking,
show is Supernatural. I would not.
I was going through, I had all these other ones, right? And I had that one spot left, and I was like, what is the show that's the most groundbreaking right now? Right now that's going on. And it's Supernatural. If you haven't seen it, seen it.
I've seen a couple seasons, but I'm not as into it as some people are.
It's
but, okay.
It gets so good, and now it's guaranteed, I believe, 2 more seasons. And just what they're doing with the show, and just like, if you enjoy stuff about werewolves, if you enjoy stuff about vampires, angels and demons, and stuff like that,
Yeah.
with a lot of humanity and snark, and it's just beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I've caught a few episodes. I'm not as diehard as some people are, but I don't dislike it.
It's just my number one show ever. It's not
Well,
like I'm
my
diehard.
my list. Sorry, no particular order, because I hate picking favorites, but whatever. Walking Dead, of course, that's at the top, but in no order. Walking Dead, love that show. Can't wait for it to freaking return. Another 30 days or so. Yeah. Yeah,
It's me slapping my inner elbow.
Yeah, I need my Walking Dead fix. I need my Daryl Dixon fix. Sons of Anarchy, love that particular show.
I could never get into that, man. I watched like the first half of the first season,
Mm-hmm.
and again,
you
it's
weren't
a
hooked
lot.
at that point?
It's what's that?
You weren't hooked at that point?
I wasn't, man.
Hmm.
I wasn't.
Okay.
I looked at it, and the thing about anti-heroes, and we've had this argument and discussion
we've done
before,
this many times.
is they have to try to redeem themselves.
Yeah.
They often fail, but they have to. It's like on classic Doctor Who.
Mm.
Almost everything that had Earthlings in it on the old Doctor Who was they were downtrodden, they were going to get killed. There was one human that was betraying everybody else, but by the end of the end of the story, he decides to unbetray them, and they survive, but that character has to die. That was the thing, like, well, he died a hero, and not a traitor. And I just haven't been able to get into it.
Well, it's an acquired taste. It's not for everyone. Next up on the list, Simpsons. Love that show, especially the Halloween specials. And I know a lot of people have been bashing the last few seasons, saying it's not nearly as good. There was a golden era, but I still think they're putting out good episodes. I disagree with the majority of people out there. And
it's not. I'm going to agree with you
Mm-hmm.
insofar as it's The Simpsons. You know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Like the first 8 seasons of it, nobody had ever done anything like that before in animated television.
But now
So,
everyone's doing it.
Now everybody's doing it, so I think it gets watered down some because you've got people like what Family Guy used to be, where well, we're going to take that and top it, and South Park and things like that. But it's still pretty. I love Matt Groening. I was a fan of Life in Hell.
Great comic.
Long before The Simpsons came. Well, I was a teenager basically, and when I heard that he was doing a show, I thought, the story I read was originally he was going to do, Binky. He was going to do the Rabbits and Akbar and Jeff.
Yeah.
He was going to do that, but then he realized, like, whoa, wait, that's my comic strip. If this doesn't go well, then my comic strip will die too. So he made The Simpsons instead.
And that kind of ties into my next two. South Park, love it. Yeah, I think it gets consistently better, especially when it comes to its topical humor. This past season's episode, World War Zimmerman, was especially hilarious.
Yes.
And Family Guy, love that show. Although some people are saying it's not nearly as good as it used to be. I think it is. Sorry, I hate to disagree.
Actually, you know what? I'm changing my list because of what you said. Bob Newhart, which would still be in the top 20, is going away, and South Park is going there.
Okay. And Family Guy, love it.
What's up, man?
Moving swiftly along to my next choice, Mystery Science Theater 3000. How can you not love Mystery Science Theater 3000? Oh,
Yeah,
Oh,
makes it really fucking hard to sit down and watch it too.
oh, I do not know you guys. Jesus.
No, I love it.
Oh, okay.
I'm bitching that I don't get to watch it because he's
Okay.
I'd watch it if you actually said, "Hey, sit down, we're watching this." I would watch it.
You know,
But
I
if I
tried
have
that.
any-
I tried that about 4 times the first 6 months we were together, and it never worked, so I gave up.
Now, are you talking about like the riff tracks with the room? Because I watched that with you.
Well,
No, I was trying to watch the. There were a couple that I found of Shakespearean plays that were done as movies that were really bad.
I'm talking about the classic series. I mean, the riff
Yeah.
track stuff is good, but the classic series definitely.
I'll watch
No,
some
there
with
was
you.
One of my
there was the
all-time
one. It
favorite
was the movie was a German version of Hamlet.
Yeah, that's from the regular series. That was freaking
Yeah.
hilarious.
I know.
It is awesome. You have to
And-
see them do Hamlet.
Why didn't I want to watch it? Because it was in German.
No,
it
it's
wasn't
all
in
dubbed.
German. It was
it's all dubbed into
hideously
English.
dubbed.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
I'll watch it.
it's hilarious. Love Mystery Science Theater. Check them out. Next one on my list, Criminal Minds. Are you at all familiar with that one?
That's the one where they're going after serial killers
Yeah.
and people who are. Yeah,
It's behavioral
Yeah.
research division. Of
that
the
show
FBI.
broke Mandy Patinkin. It broke him.
How did it break him?
He said everything was so dark all the time on that show
Mm-hmm.
that it took him 6 months being away from the show until he felt like a human being again. I'm
Yeah.
paraphrasing, but not much.
Yeah, it's
He was
definitely
like-
a darker kind of show.
Like how I feel about Rob Zombie films,
Mm-hmm.
he feels about
Okay.
that show,
Well, he is a
being
darker
on that show. He said it was the worst mistake he ever made in his career.
Okay, and the next two, Law and Order.
All right, well, we agreed on something.
Yeah, one of my all-time favorite shows. Used to watch the shit out of that show, and also Law and Order Special Victims Unit, which I still enjoy. It follows
It's hit or miss for me, that one. Like Law and Order, when I worked at the Lava Lounge, we would always, like, bar would close at 2, and we would take till probably about 4 o'clock in the morning to, restock and clean up and everything, and, have a couple beers, whatever, and we would watch Law and Order
Mhm.
while we did it. That was like our thing for like 3 years. That was our thing. And I think it was TNT always did marathons from like 1 in the morning till 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's like, some people talk about watching the old Batman series,
Mhm.
and like, when you saw that Batgirl on the cycle, you knew Yvonne Craig was going to be there. You were like, oh, we were like that about Olivet. Like, when we saw that Olivet was going to be in there, we were like, Olivet. Oh.
Okay, and my last one, Invader Zim.
Yes.
God, I loved that show, and it died far too young. Are you all familiar with it?
I've watched that. That's something that she wanted to watch, and I watched it, and it's a good show.
It's
I
a
like
hilarious thing. It's from the maker of one of my favorite comics of all time, Joan Vasquez, and Roman Dirge, who was also involved in the show. Just freaking hilarious and pure joy, and I can't believe it got canceled after only like 2.5 seasons, if that. And like other
It
shows,
was
just
about that.
live on for year after year after year on Nickelodeon and aren't even remotely as good. So,
Well, do you think the problem with that is like we talked about Jar Jar need to connect with the kids in Phantom Menace? Do you think that might have been a little bit too grown up
I'm not
for
sure.
kids on Nickelodeon?
No.
No, there was definitely
Kids loved
stuff.
it. The kids loved it. The problem was the parents thought it was too dark for their precious little loved ones.
But, Nickelodeon has had that
Okay.
problem before with Ren and Stimpy and crap.
Rocko's Modern Life.
I was never a fan of that particular one, but whatever.
Aw.
But yeah, Invader Zim, love it. Love Roman Dirge and Joan Vasquez.
Okay.
And
No,
definitely
I
something you should sit down and watch.
Just about
But,
everything on that list I like.
All right.
And I've
So
watched
should
Criminal
we,
Minds. Don't get me wrong. I watched Criminal Minds. I like it.
Yeah, Criminal
She used to get
Minds-
mad at me because I would try to watch it right before she went to bed.
Mhm.
I would have the most fucked up dreams.
And that's the
Then you
mark of good
definitely-
TV,
You
folks.
definitely should not watch.
Let me, real quick, I didn't do my genre movies.
Okay.
Not a lot of commentary. I'm just going to
You
go
wanna
through
wrap
it
up with
from
that?
10 to 1.
Okay.
Green Lantern,
It's a
Because-
good flick.
because it totally embodied the vibe of the Bronze Age Green Lantern series from DC.
It gets way more crap than it deserves. I don't understand why people hated it.
Avengers,
Awesome flick.
Return of the King,
Awesome flick.
original Iron Man,
Awesome.
Men in Black, the original.
Not a huge fan.
It changed the game.
It is a good flick to watch. I'm just
It's-
not
it's
as
like-
huge into it as some people.
It's like that, Blade, and Independence Day
Mhm.
changed genre movies in the late 90s. Indiana Jones, The Last Crusade,
Love it.
the original Nightmare on Elm Street, only movie that actually made me lose sleep. 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's great because it was actually 5 different movies that they just kind of, it's 2.5 hours. Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, and of course Star Wars. That's kind of a given.
So do you want?
So now you know when we're arguing about things where we're actually coming from, and it might make a little more sense.
So
And do we have anything else? You want to do music?
you know what? This is a pretty good note to go out on this week, I think.
You think? You don't want me to do my ABBA speech?
Okay, you know what?
Okay, listen. We'll do music and books and some other stuff.
Yeah, because I'll have a lot
later
of
on in the season, as it were. Just want to let you know before we sign off. Next week we're going to have Mr. Ben Barnett, local Pittsburgh bon vivant and comic book artist, old friend of mine, and we're going to talk about the occult and comics and the back and forth influences and stuff. Right in your wheelhouse, should be awesome.
Mhm.
And then the week after that, Kyle's not going to be here, unfortunately, but I'm going to be hosting a roundtable on women and fandom. And we're going to have Chris Rickard, Lori Comfort, Heidi McDonald, and of course Julia Englert. And they're going to give me their insights on the female impact of fandom, which should be really cool.
Interesting.
Yes. And until then, until we come back next week, Kyle and I with Ben Barnett, I'd like to say, become a fan of the Nerd Exchange Podcast Facebook page. Become a member of the Nerd Exchange of Western Pennsylvania. If you want to email us, it's thenerdexchange@gmail.com. You can listen to us on Stitcher. Oh, that's the one other thing I wanted to talk about.
Oh yes, the Stitcher Award.
The Stitcher Awards. Now,
Bring that up.
we're on Stitcher now, and there's 20,000 plus shows on there. And after the last episode, we went up from the 13,800 and some to this week we are the 8,500th and some. It would be a great goal for us if we could get into the top 1,000 by the end of the year.
We would really like to do that. So
But you can vote in the Stitcher Awards, which is great. Smodco, Kevin Smith's podcast, Juggernaut, has a podcast nominated in almost every category. So if you just Google Stitcher Awards 2013, you can go to the link. You got to hook up with Facebook, and then you can vote. Voting closes, I think, on the 12th, and you can vote once a day for all these different things. So check that out, and hopefully, maybe sometime in the next year or two, we'll be close enough to, I think if we get into the top 1,000, we might be able to make a push for it. But check that out, and what else? Oh, come see me at the Rex Theater on Valentine's Day, opening for Eugene Merman. And what else? Do you want to give your...
I've been
stuff?
doing a bit of a thing on the CthulhuTube website. I'm doing the Necronomathon, where I'm going through zombie movies from A to Z. And I did this right before Halloween, but I didn't have enough time to do all the films on the list, because the list just became huge of all the zombie movies I was able to track down. So now I'm just doing it as an ongoing feature. And the great thing about this is... whenever I feature a movie, I post like the trailer for it in a brief synopsis, but all the movies on the list are available at Amazon, and there is a little button on my page that you can go to either rent or buy it through Amazon, and that kicks up a few pennies to me to help try keep the show going, because it's kind of rough paying for the bandwidth and all the equipment crap to keep the website going. So when you rent something through my Amazon links, that helps me out a lot. So check out some cool zombie movies and help me out at the same time. And that's about it.
Right on.
All right, brother.
All right, man. Well, it was good talking to you. I'm glad you didn't get all pissy like last week.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait, that was me.
I'm the one who got pissy.
Anyway, Ant-Man is awesome. It's going to be awesome. Let's hope The Rock is Martian Manhunter. And until next time, live what you love and learn something new every day.
Hey, folks, thanks again for listening. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. It's at Nerd Exchange. Like us on Facebook, the Nerd Exchange Podcast. And also join the group, Nerd Exchange, Western Pennsylvania. And if you have an idea for a segment, thinks we got something wrong, or just want to suggest a guest, it's the Nerd Exchange at gmail.com. That's the Nerd Exchange, one big long word, at gmail.com. Thanks again for listening. Don't forget, live what you love and learn something new every day.
As I sit in the back with my crown, bitches get down like bitches get down. Motherfuck you, Mr. Underground. As I sit in the back with my crown, bitches get down like bitches get down. Motherfuck you, Mr. Underground. This is the mother best song ever. If I have words, it will be even better. This is